Hi, guys. So last week, Neil and I did an episode regarding the Parkland funds. Hey, Neil. And it generated a response from the other side. And it's pretty humorous. And Neil and I are going to go into that right now. But before we get started, I'd like to ask you to please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Like and share us with your friends. Leave us a comment of 7 words or more so we can feed the algorithm. YouTube has been suppressing pro democracy creators, and it would go a long way to help us and other creators in this space. All right, without any further delay, let's get started. All right. So, Neil, this Parkland thing is really getting some attention. What is going
Noted.
on with these people? I know.
No,
Well, right. It's not getting attention like the public
no.
doesn't really seem to care, but certain people are giving a shit because it's really pissing them off. And I just like to just give us your take. What the hell is happening with these idiots, or excuse me, with these people?
Well, it's interesting. If you watched our podcast, we addressed the Parkland issue. It is a trust fund. It is not an operating fund. And I think we went into detail as to exactly, what was going on. Everything that the supervisor had put forth was legal to do. The attorney confirmed that. I am a comptroller of a town. I'm also a CPA, and I would confirm that everything that he was doing was also legal. But, in this modern day of, you know,
Gaslighting.
of gaslighting and everything else like that, they want to come out and they want to say, "Oh, you see, we were right and they were wrong." In fact, that is not the case. They just have a lack of understanding of how government operates, and that's really what this just comes down to. And we saw that in a very real way, by some of the questions that they ask and some of the comments that they put forth, right? Is the fact that they continued, we saw, at the last town board meeting, there were some questions asked. I have no problem with asking good questions. I honestly have no problem with the public asking questions. But these two individuals who asked the questions, former councilman Eric Valentin, who was on the board for over 25 years, and former councilman Ralph
Ralph
Carr,
Carr.
who ran for town supervisor and said he knew government and he knew how it operated, came in and asked questions and made comments that were completely false and gaslighting the public. That isn't me commenting on the questions. That was me commenting on the fact that this is what they were doing. It was more of a commentary on how they operate on the other side of the aisle. Things
Right.
aren't about, they make definitive claims. That's legal. That's not legal. That's illegal. They try to use terms that foster in a person, oh my god, we need to call law enforcement, we need to, like, it constitutes
Yes.
like an emotional response out of people, whereas the language I used was the town has no internal controls, and if you have no internal controls, you are out of control. Like, I mean, it doesn't foster the same sense of urgency. But what we've seen how that translates.
Yeah.
Theirs is just lie and more gaslighting. Mine translated into the town not having a bond rating, okay, and not being able
How
to
about that?
complete their AFRs on a timely manner. Now, here's the funny thing. You don't complete your AFR, that is a crime. That is actually a crime. So what they did was an actual crime. It is considered actually a misdemeanor crime, right?
Really?
And right. And they failed to do it. Okay. So, but it's never been enforced. It's never been an enforceable crime. Nobody's ever gotten arrested for it. Nobody's ever even gotten fined for it. It's on the book. It's one of those laws that's on the books that nobody gives a shit about. Right. So you don't see me sitting here going, "Oh my God, they committed a crime." Like it's ridiculous. This is government. you're either doing things the right way or you're not doing things the right way. And that's really what it comes down to. And, like, not for nothing. Okay. And I'm going to give you a little secret here at the end of this. The people who end up getting elected to public office have absolutely no fucking clue what the hell they're doing. All of them, everywhere, from your
Well,
federal government all the way down to your local councilman.
we are
Okay.
watching that
All right.
in full Technicolor right now.
Full Technicolor. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing. And the government, believe it or not, the experts on the inside, the state comptroller's office and others, understand that these people, this is likely their first time. They have not been to training. They don't understand. So what they do is they try to give guidance, as much guidance as possible. They understand mistakes are going to happen, and they try to do everything they can to help guide you in the right direction. They provide, call centers like you can call. They have experts, that you can constantly go to. I can tell you I've utilized these experts a million freaking times. They know me by name by now. Like, and the fact that I talk to these people all the time, right? They talk to them none of the time. They didn't want to know. They wanted to do what they wanted to do, and they didn't give a shit what the actual rules are. They just wanted to do what they wanted to do. So, like when George took his trip to Florida, that should have been approved by the town board. But it wasn't approved by the town board. The town board had no idea that he even went, or maybe a couple board members did. But I can tell you for a fact that there's at least one board member who didn't, and there were no minutes to it
But the
to
town
that
paid
being
for that.
approved. But the town paid for that, and that would be considered a misappropriation of funds because the board didn't approve it, so therefore that would be considered a misappropriation of funds. Does every misappropriation of funds end up in a courtroom? No,
No.
absolutely not. It doesn't happen that way. I could tell you, there were a million things. There was a payout to a former town comptroller that was considered illegal. That there was an illegal payout, and that illegal payout stood on the books for a period of 2 years until I left office because they didn't want to vote for it with me while I was in office. They waited till I was out of office, and then they brought it up with, Steve Vanella, who is the new councilman who replaced me, so that he would vote for it and
Wow.
and therefore cure the misappropriation of funds. They did the same thing with Diana and the employees. So I had mentioned on previous podcasts that there were roughly around 13 or 14 employees that were added to the payroll that didn't have board approval. Okay. That is considered a misappropriation of funds. All right. When you do something that the town board has not approved, right? Even if you've budgeted for it, right? There's a certain process. If you don't follow that process, it's considered a misappropriation of funds because now you spent town money that the board didn't approve.
Okay,
Okay.
so let me stop you right there because I want to define this for the audience so they kind of understand where you're going. And I want to sort of
Mhm.
simplify it. So, folks, your town board is kind of like a mini Congress. And when it comes to spending money, right, and we're watching this right now at the federal level, when it comes to spending money, the purse strings are supposed to be held by Congress. We're seeing the president bleed through our treasury. But technically, it's up to Congress to vote to approve or not approve whether funds get spent. All right. And that's what he's talking about here. Your local town board has to collectively together decide what your tax dollars are spent on. It's a vote on. And you know what? It's done in the public forum at town boards. So you can be there and you can be a part of that. This is where being engaged in what happens with your town locally is equally as important as your engagement as what is happening at the state level and the federal level, because these are your property taxes. This is not just your property taxes, but sales taxes that are spent in this community, income or revenue that is generated through your court system. All that collectively is supposed to benefit the town, and if it's going to pay for somebody's trip to Florida without any approval, you want to know about that. So that's what Neil is trying to explain here. And obviously, if
Right.
you have questions, put them in the comments below and we'll address them
So
in the next
so
video.
just so everybody understands, there are two types of approval that tend to be needed, right? You have your budget. Now your budget handles day-to-day spending. So you can budget for training, but then the training has to be approved for the individual.
Okay, so
Okay.
you've already got the money approved, but we need to pick
Right.
the
So right.
got it.
So there's sort of like dual level approval. So you just like you can budget for a position, but then to hire your town board is now your HR, it's your human resources, and they have to vote on who you're hiring.
Okay.
So hiring has to be done right. So it's there. Your board really is your human resources and your authority. And that's sort of the problem is it's never been utilized that way. So when Ed Diana, who the former supervisor of the town, who was former county executive of our county, when he decided to put 14 people on payroll without town board approval, he misappropriated those funds. Now, when I found out about that and I brought it up, the board didn't want to do anything about it. They were like, we're not going to do anything about it because it would highlight, and we're in the middle of an election season, and it would have highlighted the fact that Ed Diana was not doing things the way he was supposed to be doing them. And remember, at that point in time, we weren't on Zoom. There wasn't a lot of public,
Yes, yes.
like it is today with the social media and everything else like that. It was just out there. Okay. And it was just me talking about it. Okay. And then when Frank Dandanto got into office in 2020,
2021, I think. Oh, 2020. That's right, 2020.
2020, all right, and he hired O'Connor Davies to do a risk assessment, okay, of the town. It came out that these 14 individuals had not been hired. They were on payroll, but they had not been hired. Okay.
Okay.
And that, right? Like, think about that. Your business hired people, but there was no, but all right,
They didn't go through the interview process.
those people are on payroll, but weren't hired. Now, from any business standpoint, if there are people on your payroll who you didn't hire, that becomes a problem,
Yes.
right? That becomes a real problem because now you're talking theft, right? Misappropriation of funds is theft of government resources. Okay. So it came out that these 14 individuals, now, what could we have done as a board, right? I mean, at that point in time, these individuals have already been hired. They've already gone through civil service. Everything's been done on the other end of it. So you really can't let these people go because some of them had been on payroll, had been with the town for over a year.
Mm.
So you can't just say we're going to fire these people. Not only that, we needed those people. We had them budgeted. But so what did the supervisor do at the time? The supervisor did what he was supposed to do. He went to the town board. He said, "These are the individuals that we hired. We're going to do a resolution to hire these individuals." Okay? So what you will find is that some people were on payroll for almost a year and a half, maybe even 2 years prior to them actually being hired by the town. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah. And he would listen, Frank didn't make a partisan issue out of it. He didn't like go like, "Oh, Ed Diana was a bad guy and did a bad thing." It was, "Okay, well, we have these people on payroll, we have to do it." Did I vote for that? I did not vote for that. I voted no. And the reason I voted no, and again, some of them were police officers and they're trying to say that like I was against police. No, I was against hiring people that weren't through the proper process. I didn't get to vet these people. I didn't know who these individuals were. I got to know some of them. So, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit there and condone bad behavior by voting for it. So my feeling is I'm just going to vote no. And but Frank did the right thing. And he got those people hired and we moved forward. And what we see with these guys is they don't want to move forward. Everything has been about like attacking. So they set up a Facebook page to attack myself. They set up a Facebook page to attack the current supervisor.
Yep.
They set up this Facebook page as garbage. And think about it. They spent the supervisor that they had, George Serrano, was making over $100,000 a year. So in 4 years, he made close to $500,000 off the town. Okay? And he had money stolen from him. He failed. He lost the town its bond rating. He failed to file its AFRs. He failed to do his job. So what we're hearing now is this idea of full time versus part time. Well, what the fuck does that mean? Because if you're telling me the guy worked full time, he didn't do the job. He
Yeah.
failed to do the job. Okay. And what do we have now? We have a supervisor that's doing the job. He may not be there, right? Nine to
Between 9 and
five,
5. Yeah.
9 to 5, but he's doing the job. And I think that people really have to understand, like, full time for a supervisor is not 9 to 5. Okay. Like, they don't work standard hours. And anybody who doesn't realize that and doesn't realize like that these political jobs are like 24/7, and I know that for a fact because I did it, or 24/7, you're out to fucking lunch. You're out to
Yeah.
fucking lunch, okay? I'm not saying we need to pay Congress $20,000 more because they're overpaid as it is for the amount of days that they work, but what I'm saying is that he does work. Now, I've said right from the very beginning, the $122,000 that the supervisor gets paid in the town of Wallkill is one of the highest in the county and should absolutely come down. There is absolutely no reason why the town should be paying that much. But again, that wasn't the current supervisor's decision. That was the past board. That was George Serrano, who was the budget officer.
Yeah. And it
But
also further back, I mean, it started going up even before him. Diana raised it up dramatically also.
nah, not as much as George did.
Oh, yeah, I
George
know, George.
really George put it on, on steroids. It just it's out of hand right now. I
It's like
mean,
a
it just
22% increase over 4
over
years.
like 2 years. Yeah,
To
it was a lot. It was like 25% increase
Man, I
over
would
like
love to get a raise like that. I want a
yeah.
25% raise.
He came in right off the gate and he said, "I shouldn't be the lowest paid employee in town hall. I should be the highest paid employee in town hall." Because again, he had like Trump derangement syndrome, right? It was he felt he should be the center of attention and everything should be about him. And he didn't care about finances. He really just didn't. I mean, you could see that from day one. He was saying, "Oh, everything's great. Nothing to see here, we have no problems." He lost the bond rating, didn't tell anybody. He lost
For a
four
year
hundred
and a
thousand
half.
dollars, didn't tell anybody. Right? He tried to keep it a secret. Everything has been one secret after another.
And it really, really makes you think are those the only 2 secrets?
But there are a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot more.
I think
I
there's a
can tell
lot of
you that.
stuff we don't know, and, I'm just hoping that this accounting, investigation that Frank is conducting, the current supervisor is conducting, is going to, yield some eye-opening results, because I think
Well,
I think there's a lot there that we may never know, but, you know,
I
I think there's a
as I
lot.
said, I can tell you given given what I've seen over the years, there was a lot of misappropriation of funds by these people. Because here's the ultimate thing. As I said, the board has the final decision on things, okay?
Right.
And the number of decisions that they made without board approval, okay, is really absolutely staggering. They did not want me to have knowledge of or vote on certain things that we were required to vote on, okay? And I can tell you, so I I went out and I foiled, I love the FOIA.
Yes,
Like I
yes,
love
Neil and
FOIA
his
requests.
spoils.
All right. So I did a FOIA request with the county on hiring. Okay. Now, when you hire, that the one thing that always boggled me was when you hire somebody, there's a process that you have to go through. The first step in that process is actually going to your town board and saying, okay, we need a resolution saying we're going to hire for this position. If the position is you need to create the position. You need to do that before you canvass. And canvass means you go to the county and you get the list from the county, and then you send out your letters to the people. All this stuff has to come. You have to get approval from your board to do these things. Like, just can't just say, "Well, we budgeted for it, so we can do it." You have like, there has to be a like, this pre-approval process, like, "Okay, now we're gonna go do this thing." And that never happened. That never happened, and I was always like it would always, like, boggle my mind that all of a sudden there would be, like we'd be voting on hiring somebody, and I was like, "Do we even have this position?" I didn't know we were canvassing. It never came to me as a board member, and they wanna lie and gaslight you and say, "Oh, yeah, we brought." Check the minutes. There are no minutes. I can tell you that right now, and the only thing and the reason I know that there are no minutes because of the fact that the county actually requires all that documentation. Before you go to the county and get a list from the county, okay, the county requires you to provide the resolution related to the position. And
Makes
so
sense.
I went to the county and I was like, "Okay, show me all the paperwork for all these positions that they created." Right? No resolutions. Nothing. Nothing. Just emails from, like, George going, "Hey, blah, 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 we need this. Can we take a look at this? Blah, blah, blah." And so they would do an end run around the process to keep me out of it.
Wow. Now, yeah, now, folks, just think about what he just said, right? Now, at the time, there's 5 officials that run the board. One is the supervisor, the other 4 are electeds. But when it comes to voting, all 5 have 1 equal vote apiece. And 4 of those were Republicans and 1 Democrat. Neil was the 1 Democrat, and they deliberately cut him out of votes. And that means that not only is Neil cut out, but his entire ward is cut out of that process.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
I'm a resident of that ward. So myself and my husband, our family and our neighbors were all left out of the loop by these fucking people.
Yeah, they disenfranchised the 3rd ward significantly, which is what always surprises me when people in my ward, like, they'll say that they were okay with George. Like, it's like, "Okay, if you're okay with being disenfranchised, then that's great. Good for you." Like, to me, there was a greater picture. It didn't have anything to do with me personally, and it had to do with them and how they operated and how they managed. Like, the idea being, there's a proper process. Just follow the proper process. And what are we seeing now? We're seeing this now at all levels. Nobody's following the proper process. And the courts are overwhelmed. They're having to step in, right? Nobody's following the proper process. And
And
I think
it's doing incredible harm to our
yes.
democracy.
And you hit the nail on the head. What is democracy? Okay? If the idea that one elected official or one official can hide things from other officials on an elected board, okay, and not give them a vote, then that isn't democracy.
Yeah, that's
Then
exactly right.
then then what they're doing is an end run around democracy. These people hate democracy. That's really what it comes down to. They hate democracy.
They
Okay?
hate the people having the ability to put their voices forward,
Right.
you know?
So I want to share with everybody what they said about us, just to have some fun with it, because I think that's pretty funny.
Oh, yes, this was hysterical. Tell us all about
So
this,
so this
Neil.
right. So this is the slot page that we continue to talk about. They're apparently calling us out. Thank you very much. We appreciate you watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Right. You get to
Are you
hear
sh
all the crazy shit that we say. Okay. But it's very funny that, like, this idea of, like, oh, we like to question private citizens. Right. No, that's not true. We love when private citizens, question. But
We
This isn't
respond
what
to questions.
right, we respond to questions, and that's what we did. Um, but this is hysterical. Like, this is the type of nonsense. It's very over the top, very sensationalistic, right? I don't think you would ever consider what we do here at Tao Talk to be anywhere near this. But this what disturbs me the most is this is what is being done by the supervisor's opponent in this current
Yes.
election, right? Like, this is what she's putting together. This is what she's sitting there being hyperbolic about things, okay, that she knows nothing about. And if she does, again, I'm going to go to come on the show. Come on the show. Answer questions like
Yeah.
everybody else. Frank has come on a couple of times. We're more than happy to have you, Jill. So
Dash.
please come on.
Reach out to you. It's not like you can't find us. Clearly, you can find us. You
Right.
know where we are. This is an
And
opportunity for you to pitch yourself to a greater audience.
as I said, we are more than happy to moderate a debate between you and Frank. If you feel that I may be too biased, right? You are more than welcome, with me and Denise to add a third person as a moderator of your choosing to ask questions, and we
Yeah.
can moderate a debate between you and Frank. And we would love to be able to be in that position to be able to do that for you, and you can make your argument and make your case to everybody, and you could tell us how you would fix the current financial position that the town is. And again, I'm going to go to, you lost your bond rating. You had $400,000 stolen, right? Please, 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 please stop trying to gaslight me and say that there isn't a fucking problem. I am really fucking sick and tired of it. I just am. I am like done. I'm done with this gaslighting. I've been dealing with it for 10 fucking years and literally watched the bond rating go down the fucking sewer.
Yeah.
Okay? So, you know, Ralph finally came around and admitted that there was a problem. I'm not going down the road again of there is no problem. There absolutely is a problem. Why not maybe you should
Address it.
start your campaign with reality instead of the fiction which you're running around trying to gaslight everybody into believing. This garbage of slop that you have that you're publishing. Come on the show, answer some questions. Let's see if you're really available. You say that you're available to everybody and you say you want to work full time. We're here. We're ready. Answer our questions.
There you go. So, any final thoughts on this, Neil? Yeah, I think we've covered everything here. So, folks, let us know what you think. Um, uh, definitely have questions. We covered quite a bit. And if you have questions, drop them in the comments below. As always, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much for promoting us. By the way, thanks for the extra views and extra subscribership that came through that. Keep it up, guys. We really appreciate it. And until next time, we will see you soon. Oh, don't forget, Tuesdays is our live stream at 8 p.m. See you then, folks. Take care.
See you
We
in the
love you.
funnies. Peace out.